look at the problems of our families, of the society at large, and just wonder, how in the world we got to such a degraded state? Why people get so sick? Why their mind is so occluded? Alcohol, the oldest, the most covert, and the most used poison that never was exposed to the full extent. Ethanol is poison. Each single drop of it is just a poison. It destroys the biological integrity of our body. It lowers IQ. It degrades society. Each statement in these reports is not approximation, not exaggeration. It's just true. You can only find more harm of it. So let's continue our investigation.
You might remember your chemistry teacher in school showing an experiment how alcohol coagulates blood in a test tube. So it does in our bodies. In 1961, 3 American scientists, Nasely, Mascow, and Pennington, were exploring the human eye using a special long-focus microscope. Through the pupil of the eye, they focused on the microvessel of the retina. With help of a sidelight, physicists, for the first time in the history of science, could look inside the human vessels and observe how blood flows. They could see the walls of vessels, the red and white cells, everything. But one day, while observing one subject, when they looked into his vessels, they gasped with surprise. Clusters, clots of glued-together erythrocytes, dead red cells. They called them grape bunches, and counted many of them, from 8 to 400, and some up to 1,000 erythrocyte clusters. Physicists were terrified, but the man was not worried. On the second, the third participant, everything was fine. On the fourth, clusters again. They investigated and found out that these two had had alcohol before. The physicists performed a barbaric experiment. They gave another patient 1 shot of whiskey, and in 15 minutes, the blood of this man was observed to have the clusters of erythrocytes. The physicists thought they had just made the greatest scientific discovery, proving that blood coagulates in alcohol, not only in a test tube, but in the live vessels, and that this will change the concept that alcohol is not a recreational drug. It is a killing drug like other poisons. But no, this discovery was totally suppressed and forgotten. Once ethanol gets into the blood, it damages red blood cells. Red blood cells, erythrocytes, have a slightly negative charge, pushing each other away. Ethanol neutralizes this charge, and instead of pushing off, they stick together. Have you ever wondered why many older men have red and blue swollen noses? This is what it is. Blood vessels are the thinnest just under the skin, so the blood clots approach, stop, stack up, and stop up these little capillaries. They atrophy, and drinkers have this blue-red swollen nose and face, or red spots on the skin. The same is going on in the brain. Man's brain consists of 15 million nerve cells, neurons. The diameter of the capillary feeding it is very tiny, 1 red cell. They can get through here only 1 by 1. When a clot gets stuck in a capillary, in 3 to 4 minutes the brain cell without oxygen suffocates and dies. Each sip of alcohol makes a new cemetery of dead brain cells in man's head. When pathologists open the brain of regular social drinkers, they see them as wrinkled, shrunken, with microscars and sores. They are not surprised to see it this way, but wonder how a man could live at all. Alcohol is the #1 means to deprive people of their mind, make slaves of them, bipeds instead of creative, forward-looking individuals. Alcohol is a narcotic, a very addictive and harmful drug. Our body has no ability to fight alcoholic beverages. Toxic molecules stay in the blood more than 24 hours, but a big percentage of it, like all other toxins, remain in the tissues forever, accumulating over the years, constantly harming the body, including the eyes. Toxins can be removed only by complete purification. For women, the reproductive cells are fully developed at birth. They stay there all her life, waiting once a month to mature. And it's never known which glass of champagne or beer can damage that very cell which later becomes a crippled or disfigured newborn. Women who ever have the intention of having children must never drink alcoholic poison. In ancient Greece, to some degree, people seem to know this. At one time, wine was forbidden newly married brides. In all cultures up to the beginning of last century, the consumption of alcohol by women was considered a heavy sin. How many families we know of, even celebrities, struggle to care for children born with physiological or mental problems. All of them are the result of alcohol intoxication of their parents on a beautiful wedding day, very often long before. There's not a single cell, no single organ that doesn't get harmed by this terrible poison. In ancient times, alcohol, beer and wine, was given to workers, slaves, part of the effort to keep them in slavery. But look around. Alcohol is everywhere, in each corner of our towns, in each house. Is slavery still on? No, we have to end this intoxication. It's ruining our lives. The most dangerous effects are in the brain. This toxin accumulates in the brain. It doesn't get digested like food. It is absorbed right from the mouth and ventricles, gets into the bloodstream, to the brain, and causes very intensive destruction of the cerebral cortex. The mechanism is very simple and has been long known. The dreadful effects of ethanol are described in all books, yet people still consume it. Why? Because it is so available, aggressively advertised, and even suggested by some dishonest or ignorant representatives of medicine as being healthy. Let's take responsibility for this poison now. Let's save our children. Ironically, parents are the first to teach children how to drink, simply by setting an example, drinking in their presence. Alcohol is the #1 killer of the whole human civilization from the early dawn of it. Under alcohol, a person is partially insane. Many would say that they are not an alcoholic, they say they just drink a little to relax. Well, it's not relaxation, it's making you stupid and sick. If you test your IQ after even one drink, you'd be terrified of how low it has already dropped. It is well known that it is poison, but it's called a recreational drug, which is a total lie. It's exactly the opposite. It is ruining the body. Our children are taught in schools, and we are instilled by the media and all health organizations into drink responsibly. You most likely never realized that this is the best propaganda to consume it, because the message here is drink. It is a narcotic, it is addictive. It is the same as if they said kill yourself smartly, or poison yourself responsibly. Alcohol destroys structural and functional integrity of the brain. A person swallows it, the red blood cells glue up in clusters, stop the blood capillaries, the brain cells get suffocated, the massive dying off begins. The normal operation of the cerebral cortex stops, causing destruction of the vestibular system, which contributes to balance and to the sense of spatial orientation. It is the leading contributor about movement and sense of balance. Therefore, this system affects the movement of our eyes. Some people under the influence of alcohol lose coordination, some lose memory, and some lose consciousness. It's all the result of poisoning. As mentioned before, the body washes out the dead brain cells. And what happens to that liquid later on? Well, you urinate them out in the morning after a night of drinking. So there's the modern scientific saying, he who drinks wine and beer urinates their own brain. We hope you'll never forget it. Explain it to your children and save them. Together we can set man free from alcoholic slavery. Okay, so you have a health condition, now you know the main cause of it. There's no single disease that cannot be triggered by ethanol poisoning. None. There are a lot of things to accomplish in life, but if we take responsibility for this part, we will be on our way out of this drunk, sick world. Even, dear friend, if you are personally never drinking this poison, let others know about this video. Help those who are not this strong or fortunate as you. Do not hesitate to speak up against alcohol. People will be very grateful to you.
That's the end of this report. See you at the next one. Till then, continue to show to your people. Save their lives. It is very important because how much you are alive yourself depends on how much you help others. This is Info Awareness. Ludmila, Lloyd, Hollywood, California.